Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready here.
He's taken another one and another, and Howard Foster has stopped it. Wow, that is going to be controversial.
That's a crunching right hand, and that must finish it. It must finish it.
Taylor trying to catch himself, using his jab, eats a right hand, another right hand, and he goes down. Oh my goodness!
The dream is made real. Ricky Hatton rocks the world with a truly stunning win over a modern legend. He is the champion of the world.
Yo, we're back again. Raps on TV. The host with the most, Kojo, back in the building, as they like to say. Been a busy weekend of boxing, a lot of body shots going around. But we're back here to talk about the best things and look forward to next weekend's, or this weekend's, two clashes. Going to one of them, Whyte versus Chisora, the rematch. Has Del Boy done enough as he chiseled away in the gym to get back his redemption song and his redemption story? But I'm here as usual with my co-host Tom. What's going down, Tom?
I'm all good, Coach. Nice to be back in the studio. It's a bit of an emotional one, really, because it's the last one of the year. But it's been a great year for British boxing, and been great working with yourself and Anam. Anam's definitely going to be sorely missed today, but like you said, got a massive agenda on the cards. Canelo Fielding in Madison Square Garden, a massive fight for Rocky Fielding. Didn't meet the elite level. Didn't deliver. And also domestic dust-up with Whyte Chisora. Public workouts start tomorrow, and then you've got press conference, weigh-in, and then the big fight Saturday with a stacked undercard as well. So a lot to talk about, and yes.
Don't forget. And I was going to say, don't forget, so good to hear that you're well. Don't forget, we got the man like Josh Warrington taking on Frampton for a really interesting IBF dust-up at the featherweight division. Quite a stacked card. Probably one for the hardcore fans more than the sort of relatively casuals. And then obviously we got over in the States, we got the PBC card with the Charlo brothers.
Yep.
We'll get into that a little bit, talk about Monroe's replacement that stepped in and his reputation, and looking forward to diving into that. And maybe if we get time, we'll talk about Anthony Joshua's visit out in the States.
Interesting stuff.
Interesting stuff. A bit more, how would you say, up close and personal than usual, but
most definitely
good to see. So so I guess let's kick it off. Last weekend we saw the Canelo, the man who is named as probably close for being pound for pound at the moment, take on Rocky Fielding, and that was a challenge he decided to embark on by going up one division and taking on the champion Rocky Fielding, who had the WBO belt, if I want to stand corrected. WBA, sorry, yep. And interesting fight. I think, we're not going to really mince our words around with it. Hit the canvas pretty early, Fielding 4 times in 3 rounds. Going into that fight, I don't think most people gave him a chance, not even really a puncher's chance. Looking back on those 4 rounds, Tom, what were your thoughts?
I have to say, prior to the fight, I'd predicted that it'd be a body onslaught from Canelo.
Yep.
That was the area that Fielding was particularly most vulnerable in the fight. I thought, being the taller, rangier opponent, Canelo's used to coming in strong, stocky, with a lot of aggression. So targeting the body would have always been something on the game plan. I thought he executed the body shots perfectly, and like I said prior to the fight, that I think it would just be a gaping hole for Canelo to exploit. And there is levels in boxing, and I think Canelo dictated that he was the elite fighter on the night, and that Fielding just wasn't up to scratch. No disrespect to Fielding, no discouraging him for taking a fight of that magnitude, because anybody would at that level. The great win over Zoiga for the WBA title, but then obviously climbing up 3 or 4 gears to get to a fight with Canelo is a big step.
Yeah, you touched on quite a few things there, and I think the key thing really is actually, even though Canelo is the smaller fighter and coming up from quite a few divisions below, in terms of where he started, the technical ability was on show with Canelo. And you're right. We went into a back and forth, and I think it was obvious there was going to be the majority of body shots. But I think what impressed me was actually when he did knock him down with the hook. I think it was the 3rd time that he knocked him down. And for me, Fielding, did he sell his belt? I would probably say a little bit, but it's the opportunity that we're talking about here. We're talking about fighting in Madison Square Gardens against one of the current probably listed pound for pound fighters. Did he show anything? I think that's probably the most disappointing thing is that he, as a champion, facing somebody that's come up in weight, he probably just went down. I can't even say too easily, but he didn't really give up a fight.
Yeah.
You know, you don't lose 3 rounds, 10-8 and really go on to win the fight. I don't know if that's been done before, number one. And he was just there to be hit. Even when he started to engage with Canelo, you felt that was the wrong tactics because he would take 2 or 3 punches from Canelo, suck it up, especially when he got hit on a body shot, and try to come back with a counter, a jab or an uppercut. And it just didn't even feel like he was doing any damage to Canelo. So that was interesting. Probably not worth staying up for, but I do think ultimately, Canelo's done an interesting thing with kind of sitting out the year in that way, because I think what it does is it kind of not masks, but it takes all the stigma around the Triple G fight and also leading up to that with the whole cow scandal. I think he's going to go into 2019 and the plans they're talking about with the DAZN deal, actually he's probably going to be the fighter on the rise in 2019. What do you think?
No, 100%. You hit the nail on the head there about Canelo having that ferocious 24 rounds with Golovkin and then taking a fight of this magnitude, particularly wasn't up to the level that he'd been operating at before, not of the caliber of a Charlo or a Jacobs or a Golovkin. But I think he needed that fight. If he was to step up, he needed a fight where he could have an easy target. Fielding being the weakest of the champions, you could argue. I don't think he would have.
That's a fair statement.
Yeah, I don't think he would have wanted to take a fight with Callum Smith immediately, especially after the momentum he's had with the Groves fight. But I thought as well, Canelo didn't really seem like he came out of second gear. He seemed to impose himself early on,
pretty easily,
establish the jab. And again, like you said, I was disappointed that Fielding wasn't able to impose his attributes, his range, his size. Didn't seem to even want to keep the fight at distance, wanted to engage too early. So I think you've hit it spot on with the analysis of the fight. We predicted it would be before 4 rounds. We kind of, the general consensus was that it would be within 1 and 4 rounds. And I think once Canelo started to target the body of Fielding the first round, it was kind of a one-way say 100%. After that.
And I think, if you look at the fight as a whole, I think if you're a photographer, you probably got wonderful shots, because I saw on the Instagram, on the good old gram, some fantastic shots from Canelo. And when you see those shots connecting and the shudder that it's doing to Fielding's body as a whole, I'll say 2 things. The namely will be actually very, very, very fair play to Khan, because as much as he got knocked out in Knockout of the Year, actually he was boxing quite well, and you would argue he was boxing to a better degree than what Fielding showed as a champion. And 100%. Canelo came in as a challenger, so you would actually say, well, Khan showed a bit of muscle there. But then going back to Triple G, and I'll ask you this question about a third fight, but I actually showed Triple G is fucking tough as anything, because if you see that Fielding couldn't really sustain any of Canelo's shots, and Triple G over 24 rounds took his best shots.
Took the kitchen sink, really, from
basically,
Canelo.
Whether it was on the chin, whether it was on the side of the head, whether it was on the shoulder, whether it was on the side of the rib cage, it was just unbelievable. So, in terms of a third fight between the two, do you think there's a reason to do so, or do you think it's...
I wouldn't scream for it. I think with the DAZN deal, you've got the likes of Jacobs, Andrade, Charlo at middleweight. And I think they're fights that if Canelo wants to solidify himself as a pound-for-pound great, then those are the fights at this stage of his career. They're the emerging talents of the division.
Exactly.
Andrade's... it's hard to really make a case for Andrade against Canelo because he hasn't operated at that level. He hasn't had a fight with the likes of Golovkin or even a Lemieux, someone like that. Whereas,
I agree with you.
With Canelo has operated at the elite level, the likes of Cotto, Mayweather. Even though he lost that fight, he learned a lot from that, and the streak he's had since then has shown that he's just levels by levels. He's improved. Significantly.
Easily. I think that was probably the standout thing from that fight was that his ability. Technical wise was on show there, and Fielding didn't really do himself any justice. Again, there's a question of, and I'll answer my own question if you don't mind. In terms of the third fight, I would say, if I'm being honest, I'm probably one of the few to say, I wouldn't mind a third fight. And I'll tell you why, because I think you're talking about 2 guys that are not afraid of each other's power, are prepared to absorb each other's power. So that always makes for a good fight. With arguably, they're both knockout kings, regardless of, we question Canelo, Triple G's career or his resume, and Canelo, they're knockout guys. So for me, I think the very fact that the first one was controversial, the second one maybe not so, but it was still a majority decision. I think actually a third one wouldn't do anybody any harm. I think the pay-per-view numbers would back that up. Triple G would be up for it. And Canelo probably has more of the advantage because Triple G is getting older and he seems to be really coming into his prime. I mean, I think we spoke about this during the week that going into the weigh-in, Canelo looked in amazing shape. Like he was just like he was in beast mode. So for me, I wouldn't mind a third fight. And I would say in this way, I would probably prefer a third fight over Andrade. Probably even more than a Billy Joe Saunders.
Yeah.
Maybe not Jacobs, because I think Jacobs is probably the trio amongst Triple G and Canelo. Maybe could lose to both. Obviously, he has lost to Triple G, even though that was a tight fight.
Yeah.
But I think he's probably the only one I would say, well, actually, yeah, I wouldn't mind Canelo facing off with a Jacobs, but not with an Andrade or Saunders, because, yeah, I mean, even a Charlo, I'm still a bit like...
Because they haven't proven
They
themselves.
haven't proven themselves, yeah, and I think Canelo versus Triple G is literally like the best versus the best. So I wouldn't be against that.
No, 100%, Coach. I have to say, with that, that's probably the fairest point you can make, because I think when you put it into a three-way cycle with the likes of Golovkin, Canelo, and Jacobs, it seems to be a replica of, say, the heavyweight division where you've got a Joshua, a Fury, a Wilder. It's a triangle in that division.
And whoever wakes up on the day...
There we go. Exactly. And I think as well, Jacobs, you have the narrative behind Jacobs' story with the bone cancer and how he survived that.
Yep.
Golovkin's come from a tough place in Kazakhstan. Canelo's kind of had to rise level by level after the Mayweather defeat. It was, at the time, a very devastating defeat because he was coined to be a massive superstar.
Agreed.
And he's earned that now in the professional ranks. So I think in terms of a Golovkin-Canelo third fight, what would you say is the biggest, particularly political barrier within the governing bodies, within the sort of TV networks? Do you think that's going to be a barrier for the fight not to take place?
At the moment, we don't know because HBO have obviously folded. We touched on that last week, and there's rumours of where Golovkin's going to land. You would probably say the smart money is on DAZN.
DAZN, yeah.
You would probably say the smart money is on DAZN, but arguably as well, is there room for both guys? But again, Canelo was on Golden Boy, and the connection with HBO. So yeah, I would say that's where the smart money would go. I would be very surprised if he went to PBC. Top Rank could be in there, but I find with Arum, he doesn't take guys on when they're towards the end of their career. He kind of gets rid of them. He likes them when they're in there. They're fresh. To some degree, if you look at Lomachenko, you look at Crawford, even when he got on with Pacquiao. So I don't know if he would go for taking on Triple G right now. So yeah, that's what I would think. Other than that, I don't see many issues because, they fought already. And if they're on the same network, then what's holding it up? And if the networks are smart, they would push for that because DAZN's platform is all about subscription based. If they were to put that fight within that model, then I think it's only going to get more subscribers, and ultimately, and if they don't, it could allow them to go into the pay-per-view market, and that's a justified pay-per-view fight.
And do you think as well, there was I think news story leaked of Golovkin potentially signing with DAZN. Do you think that would make the fight a lot easier if the two were under the same promotional banner?
I think so. Yeah, I do. It will be interesting with this whole how the fight gets carved up financially because obviously Canelo's got that 300 million plus deal. But yeah, I think it shouldn't. They can't really have any issues. They've done it already. I think probably the only issue would be is on the judges.
Yeah, 100%.
And where that lays. So how do they divvy that up? I think that could be the interesting thing. So just going up before we move on, the Canelo versus Fielding. So when you look at Fielding and the height and the range that was in his advantage, how did Canelo just negate that so easily?
I think that's exactly it. He was just able to negate straight away. I don't think Fielding had the arsenal to deter Canelo from coming forward. Mm-hmm. We sort of associate Canelo with being a counter puncher on the back foot.
Yeah.
Golovkin came forward at him, took the kitchen sink, and Canelo was pinging him from all angles.
Yeah.
Fielding, on the other hand, I said before the fight, tactically, the one thing he cannot afford to do in the opening few rounds is drop his body, as in dip, and let his body open up to a body shot.
Yeah.
He did it in the first round, dipped with about 30 seconds into the round.
Bam.
Canelo, bang. And it was just, and watching it was just like you wince in yourself because the way he's landing the body shots, they're so acute and so accurate.
And also Fielding wasn't. There's some guys. Maybe it's all it's a physical thing in terms of what you see. Sorry, visible. You could see his shape just wasn't going to take those shots.
No.
There wasn't no muscle, there was no stomach. It was just literally bone, and you just felt, ooh.
Felt so sorry for him as well.
Like, I just felt, I don't know if you got this feeling, but I was watching that fight and I was like, he's going to be in pain tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Because there were some body shots he was taking where he wasn't going down, and you could just see him go.
And you thought maybe they could have been the effective ones.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, so it was tough all round for him. I mean, but look, he done his family proud. He's a champion. He can look back at his career, maybe get Sky pundits role and say, look, well, I fought in Madison Square Gardens against Canelo.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite interesting, you know, and just want to quickly go back on Canelo and one of the things you said about the loss to Mayweather, because, you know, I remember watching that fight, same probably as you would have done, and it was all about this guy is the new blah, 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 and Mayweather's 13 years his senior, blah, blah, blah. But obviously, he got scored, he lost. Yeah. But actually, it's a good sort of example to show to a lot of fighters that, you know, if you do fight the best, it's not the end of your career, because he fought Mayweather and everybody knew what the result was. And look what he's gone on to do. He's still a massive pay-per-view star. He's still able to get a big contract with a new TV network.
Yep.
He's still gone on and had an arguably great CV in terms of Cotto, Khan, Smith, Shaver, Cesar Chavez,
yep.
Triple G twice. So it just goes to show that losses don't mean anything, in my opinion.
Exactly that. Yeah. And I think as well, after the Mayweather fight, I think in terms of, he must have had about 7 or 8 top elite fights after that. I think he would have learned a lot more in the Mayweather fight than he did in any of those fights, because right? You see, even when you watch him, as much as there's a lot of controversy behind the meat, clenbuterol, stuff like that, technically he's so sound in all departments. You can't pick a department out with Canelo and say there's a bit of weakness there. He seems to just be a complete fighter. He's not the perfect fighter by any means, because Mayweather proved that he was able to deter him of his advantages. But I think as well, the departments where Canelo is so superior in are the departments where other fighters can't prepare for that. Yeah. And he's so dominant then in fights. Dominant.
Yeah, no, agree. Great points. So yeah, moving on to the weekend clash. I'm sure there's been a bit of double booking going on there. 2 venues booked.
Sticky one.
Yeah. I mean, remind me to ask you what one you're going to be watching, although I don't need to. Whyte versus Chisora. You want to do the intro?
Yeah. Great fight. The rematch has always been, the last 2 years particularly, something that's...
I believe it's 2 years since they last fought.
I know.
Yeah,
it's crazy times
right?
flying, Coach. Yeah. But yeah, like since the last fight of the year contender... the build-up this time has been particularly quiet compared to the throwing of tables, the gloves are off.
Exactly. Who's the donkey now?
Who's the donkey now? This time it's popping pills and these sort of analogies, laxative.
Yeah. I'm going to run through you. It's hilarious.
But yeah, like it's one of those fights where you think it's either does... Chisora have more discipline this time round? Is he more motivated? Is there more impetus in his camp with David Haye being added to the equation? You've got Whyte on the other hand, who under the tutelage of Mark Tibbs seems to be improving fight by fight. What's your take on that setup with Chisora and Haye? Do you think it's a conflicting one perhaps, or do you think there is an impetus there that David Haye's added?
Yeah, good question. I think on the face of it, and I know there's going to be a lot of press this week, I think on the face of it, I would say there seems to be some improvement because Chisora looks in better shape, and he seems calmer.
Yeah,
I'm not going to say he's not talking rubbish because he's talking rubbish, but he seems calmer. He doesn't seem so agitated. You know, if you look back to the Whyte fight and even the subsequent, 1 or 2 afterwards, there was a very dark atmosphere. Maybe he'll bring it back on again this week because it's fight week.
Yeah. But
there just seemed to be, even, with the press conferences, which is announcing fights, he just seemed very dark and that kind of whatever and, mystery about him. But this time he seems focused. He said he's got God in his life, so, we'll see if that's true. He said some interesting things about Fury, which I think can be a bit of an inspiration to him. I think, arguably, there will be some improvements to his usual camp because Haye likes to work with, skilled subject matter experts, so nutritionists, guys that deal with strength and conditioning. I think that's the level that he will go up again. Will it be enough? I'm not so sure, but I think it may make for a very, very interesting fight. Probably more entertaining this one in terms of there being a knockout.
Yeah, no, 100% agree.
What's your thoughts on Chisora? And you spoke about the Mark Tibbs, let's look at Chisora. Chisora, Dillian Whyte. What's your thoughts on Dillian Whyte working with Tibbs, losing to Joshua? You know, the year that he's had to finish on this Chisora fight. You know, how would you sum up his career? And do you think this fight is a risk to finish the year?
I think to start with, Dillian Whyte's definitely made a case for himself to be fighter of the year. The way he's come back after the fight with Joshua. I mean, look at the level of opponent he's boxed. Okay, excluding the likes of Dave Allen and those kind of Ian Lewis and those kind of fighters. He's fought Lucas Brown, who at the time everyone thought was a tough test. The former WBA champion.
I didn't, but yeah.
And I don't either, but a lot of people would have said, Lucas Brown would have been a bigger step up. Joseph Parker, massive fight. That was probably, to date, his best performance.
I agree.
And then to finish off with a fight he doesn't need to take. He could have waited in the work. He could have been flying off to, I don't know, some exotic country for 4 months, waited for a shot at the world title. But no, he chose to stick in the cold and wet in London. He's up at Loughborough training there, and he stuck out to fight someone who arguably most people thought won the first fight. So whether these risky fights are giving him more experience, I think they are. I think he's definitely improving fight by fight under Tibbs. And I think come Saturday, I can only see one outcome of the fight. And I think Whyte, I don't think it's going to be a stoppage or a knockout. I think Whyte's probably going to win convincingly on points. If he chooses to box, he wins the fight comfortably. If he chooses to brawl, then it's anyone's game. And Chisora could well clip him with a shot.
No, I think that's a good sort of summary. I do agree with you in terms of I'll say in terms of Chisora being able to clip him. I do agree with you on that. Like I said, I think Chisora looks better, physically. I will say the Takam fight, I don't know how much that took out of him. And, let's not forget, although it ended fantastically for him, actually, before the knockdown, he was getting beaten up.
Do you think he pulled a shot out of the bag, perhaps?
I think he pulled a shot out of the bag. That was my real intention. There were a few, he hit him with some really good sort of like right hands or whatever. But overall, in my opinion, I do think, the fight was going against him and he pulled it out, which is fair enough. I rate Wilder for being able to do that. It's the heavyweight division. So I will say, however, I do feel, and it's hard to say that because if I said who's better, Dillian Whyte or Takam, you would probably be like, ooh. But I don't know. I just feel that Dillian Whyte at the moment is probably going to have a bit more durability than Takam. I think Dillian Whyte has taken his training very, very seriously, even more so this year. I think you look at what he's trying to achieve, and I think this fight, because I've always felt this fight was a risk, but I actually feel that, if he stops Chisora, which I think he can do, I think I think there's no question he fights Joshua in April. Because I think a Chisora knockout, although for the guys like us, that might not be suitable, I think if you look at it from a casual perspective, you look what Dillian Whyte has done throughout the year, he does deserve a shot at a championship belt. And with Wilder and Fury going on in the background, there's only one option for him to go. It wouldn't be my first choice, clearly, because I don't think the result will be any different. But I think they can sell it and maybe make me forget my prediction and say, well, actually, leading up to the fight, it's going to be closer than you think. And I think it will all be off Chisora getting stopped because, few people have stopped Chisora. And I think if Whyte stops Chisora and then has the verbiage where he's saying, look, I stopped Chisora stopped Takam went 12 with Joshua, people are going to be like, oh, yeah, that's true. And I think that's how we have the rematch. And I think this is it.
That's 100% correct. I mean, there was just one last question with I know you touched on there. Chisora seems a bit. I don't know if it's to say the way he's acting towards his approach towards the opposition camp and also the approach towards the media. He seems to be a bit sluggish in interviews. Do you think that's perhaps a hidden sign that he's maybe possibly drained himself in camp? He's overtrained, maybe too hard.
I guess a good point. I don't know because those guys are always kind of flabby. So I do get what you're getting at. I just don't know. It's hard to say because the better condition they come in looking, I think it helps them. But you're right. In other weights, we would say, oh, no, he's overtrained, blah, blah, blah. But with these guys, if you look at probably it'll be interesting if we get up during the show, when Whyte and Chisora fought the first time, I wouldn't be surprised if they were both easy 250.
Yeah. 100%.
And this time, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the 235, 240 mark.
Yeah, 'cause
242
they both
maybe.
look in fantastic shape.
This is what I mean. So yeah, I don't know if there's going to be a drainage issue. I hope that's not an excuse for either fighter. But I do think it's going to be a knockout.
Yeah, I don't think it can be an excuse as well in the heavyweight division because they're entitled to eat what they want.
Exactly.
Within reason, they have to. The nutrition's got to be on point. It's got to be 100%
Yeah, it's got to be
clean.
beneficial for them, but they're not as strict as other fighters. I mean, and anybody that knows anything could tell you that. Yeah, I'm not saying they're going out eating Five Guys and well, actually they can do nanos, but Five Guys or whatever. But they will definitely be able to have a bit more freedom, as opposed to the other guys. So I mean, leading up to this fight, what's your prediction?
I think Whyte's going to win comprehensively on points. I think it just depends really because I can see the fight going two ways. I can see Whyte boxing at distance and just implementing his jab. He's got a very good jab for a heavyweight. The first 5-6 rounds, if he's able to do that, he can probably coast through the fight if Chisora's not able to get on the inside. Yeah. But then again, if it's a replica of the first fight, the 13th round, the continuation of the 12th, then could go either way. And I'd probably favour Chisora. The shape I've seen him in on telly with the whole preview shows and stuff, I can see Chisora knocking Whyte out if they do engage early. But if Whyte's able to keep his distance, box smart, then I think he'll win the fight.
Yeah. That's good. I mean, I'll be honest. Either I would not be either result. I won't be disappointed with. Should the winner face Joshua though?
I think Chisora's got too much respect for Joshua. I don't think that fight could. I'm not saying it couldn't happen, but I think Joshua wants, as much as he wants Chisora to beat Whyte, everyone wants to see the rematch between Whyte and Joshua. So I think realistically, if Chisora beats Whyte, I could see him potentially having maybe either one more fight with a Parker or someone like of that caliber, or just calling it a day and saying, I've ended the year on a high. I can enjoy my retirement. I don't need to take any more punishment. Because it could be a grueling fight that Chisora wins by split decision again. It could go the other way around. Does Chisora want a third fight of that ferocity?
I mean, for both of them. And this is why it just makes me, I mean, for Whyte, I think really the danger is in his hands because he's more or less being touted to fight Joshua in April more than Chisora is. And it's kind of like, even if this is a bruising fight and, you know, you damage your wrist or your bicep or rib cage, that's going to have a more of impact on him than it would for Chisora. So I'm surprised he's taking such a risk. But at the same time, I think, it makes sense because actually if they need to sell the April fight, which they're going to need to do, the Chisora's the perfect foe for that because again, you know, they will even bring out the fact that Chisora didn't even get stopped by Tyson Fury. You know, even though we know he was outboxed, they will still say, but Tyson Fury didn't knock him out and Dillian Whyte has. You know, Klitschko couldn't knock him out and Dillian Whyte has. So I think that's going to be their key thing. The other clash, so just to say, I'm going Whyte knockout. You're saying Whyte points. The other clash, which is taking place on the same day at the same time, which is a very, very big liberties, is Josh Warrington versus Carl Frampton. Probably more for the pugilists in the house. What do you make of that fight? And just break it down.
No, it's a huge disappointment, particularly for boxing fans that want to see both fights. They're both domestic dust-ups to start with. I think with this fight, it's got a bit extra to it. I think with Frampton, again, who's competed at the elite level, the likes of Santa Cruz, Quigg, Warrington's on the up. Whether he's able to establish himself as the best in Britain, there's a lot of there's a lot of differences between the two, but there's also the fact that Frampton's going to be determined to get back to number one spot. Warrington's want to continue the momentum from the Selby fight. A lot of people have already jumped on criticism saying that Selby was weight drained.
Yeah, I didn't like that. No. I feel that was a bit of an excuse. But...
And I think as well, Frampton's kind of transition with Jamie Moore could be another added element to the fight. It's an interesting one. I can't really call it. I said at the start when it was announced that I think Frampton's a bit more seasoned at that level, that he's got the more experience. He's probably got the better tools to disrupt Warrington, who is a relentless pressure fighter. He comes forward, he throws a lot of punches, but then again, Frampton throws a lot of shots. And I think what's going to be the difference in this fight, whoever wins the fight, is going to be down to the volume of shots that they throw. I think when they engage on the inside, when they keep at a distance, whoever lands the more shots, I know it's quite cliche in boxing, but whoever lands the most shots, the shot output of this fight is going to determine who wins it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say, I I'm looking forward to this fight. I think this fight's going to be an absolute stormer. I think Josh Warrington, and this is probably me kind of going out on a limb here, I think actually we forget that he was signed to Matchroom and he left. So I think when I don't know if I saw Warrington say this in an interview or if it was Warren that said it, but it explains a lot as to why Hearn is being very petty in regards to this whole situation. And it does because, Warrington's fighting. I think even when he was fighting Selby, they had another fight on that night. So it's not the first time he's done it. And granted, this is an IBF title clash.
Yeah.
Chisora Del Boy isn't, and he's done it on the same day knowing that this was already pre-booked. I mean,
it's a bit snaky.
It's very snaky, but then for the fans, even from us as a commentating team, we can't go to both venues.
Exactly.
So we'd have to split our time. You're a fan, you want to watch one, whether going to either or venue. Even when you're at home, you can't watch both. You're going to have to be flicking between the two channels, and no one enjoys boxing that way. But back to Warrington, for me, I think he's actually massively underrated, period. I looked at the Selby fight and I thought Selby's just got the skills. He's going to be able to just outbox him. Warrington's just a football hooligan. And I got a lot of respect for him in that fight because he really put it on Selby.
Yeah.
He wanted it 10 times more than Selby. And he showed skills that hadn't been displayed before. And I do think, Frampton is a very good fighter. He was ESPN's Fighter of the Year a couple of years ago.
Yeah, he was. Yeah.
We saw the performance against Santa Cruz. I just don't know if he's going to be able to deal with the tenacity of Warrington, and I think that's where the key is going to be in that fight because Warrington has got a good shot selection. So is Frampton. Frampton's probably the more evasive counter-attacking puncher.
Yeah,
but I just think Warrington's going to be able to smother him, and I think the height difference will play a little bit of an impact here. But I can see Warrington really making his name on the boxing scene on Saturday night. Yeah. I think it'll be a great fight. There's good mutual respect between the two of them, so that always helps. But for me, I'm thinking, you know what, Warrington's got the opportunity here. Because look at it like this. He just beat Selby, and in his first defence, he's taken on Frampton. We couldn't even get Selby and Frampton together for years.
Yeah. And
that's who he's chosen to fight. So he gets the bigger picture from what I can see.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to that. And I hope it's not a letdown, but I'm picking for Warrington.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think Warrington, now that I look back on the Selby fight, and like you said there, Warrington's ability to smother fighters, how is Frampton going to deal with that? How is he going to deal with that pressure? He's used to taking fights to people. You saw in the first Santa Cruz fight, even though Santa Cruz, again, talking about the range and distance that he has with his naturally longer arms. But Frampton was able to get up on the inside of Leo Santa Cruz and win the fight comfortably on the inside. Whereas Warrington is a shorter, stockier fighter. Same kind of stature as Frampton.
Exactly. He's about an inch or two taller, but not much. Yeah,
and exactly and that. And I think with Warrington being able to, he's got an engine to go 12 rounds. He's able to force the pace of the fight. I can't really see Frampton being able to find a way of deterring that. Is he going to have to hold for a lot longer? Is he going to have to be smart and kind of pivot around the target? I think Warrington's showed a lot in the Selby fight that he's got the tools to compete at the elite level. He's not just this come-forward fighter that wins fights on pressure. He showed a lot. He showed a lot of counter boxing at different range, boxing on the front foot, boxing on the back foot. So I think in terms of having this as a first title defence, it shows the character of the man to take a fight of this calibre. So in terms of that, do you think that he could have taken easier defences?
Absolutely. And this is where it gets interesting because then you look at the career of both of them and you think who's had an better career. You would probably say Frampton, I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, 100%.
And I wonder, is that what's questioned Warrington's decision to go with Frampton? Because it's like, I could sit back and have an easy title defence, but I need to push on here. There's not many fighters of note on my CV. Selby was a very impressive win, but like you said, now they're trying to kind of diminish it by saying, "Oh, he was weight drained," which is BS. I love the Selbys, but come on, like you lost. So I think for me, it says a lot about him. He could have easily. We've seen it. He could have easily, especially IBF, easily have taken an easier route. But he wants to be a big star. He wants to be in big fights, and I say fair play to him. talk to me a bit about what you would have thought about Frampton and the whole Jamie Moore, because that's a relationship that's really just starting to bear fruition. What's your thoughts on it so far?
I think it's a relationship that's got a lot of time to blossom. I think Jamie Moore's proven himself as a reputable trainer in Britain. The stable that he's gathered for himself is quite impressive, considering the time he's had the likes of Jack Catterall, Tommy Coyle. I think it's hard, really, because you look at the confidence within the camp. You would have seen on the weekend with Fielding how he lost, and he was distraught afterwards. You would have seen. Would that have dampened the confidence in the camp? Would Frampton have taken something from that? I know Frampton's experience at that level. Emotionally, he wouldn't have felt too distraught about it. But then again, when it's such a tight-knit camp, how much of a factor does that have?
That's a good point, yeah.
So in terms of the relationship, to answer your question, I think it's a very young relationship. It's a very inexperienced relationship between the two. I think with Warrington being with his father the whole of his career, they're starting to understand each other more. And now that they've proven themselves at world level, well, it's only going to go from strength to strength.
Right?
They're going to develop the knowledge of certain attributes of fighters, certain styles. I think I don't think the relationship with Jamie Moore is going to make too much of a difference. I think Frampton's a very think on his feet fighter. He's able to make decisions on throughout the round for the 3 minutes. I mean,
he's definitely an intelligent fighter, so yeah.
Exactly that.
I'll give you that. Cool. And just moving on, let's quickly dive into the undercards. Or you know what, we've got a call. I'm going to open the line to the caller. 245. The floor is yours. Hello.
Hello.
Yes.
Mr. Kojo, how are you?
Not too bad. Who's speaking?
It's Sam Dare.
Yes, Mr. Dare. How you doing, sir? You well?
I'm good, man. I'm really good.
We're good.
Really good. Just listening to your commentary, really. It's good. I'm liking the content. I'm liking the discussion.
Appreciate that, Sam.
Appreciate that. What's on your mind, mate?
No. What's on my mind? Hey, Canelo Fielding. First of all, congrats to Fielding. Got an unbelievable payday. Financially secured his future. I don't really know what people expected from that. People thought, the general kind of, the general views I've heard from people are that, he should have really put up a fight, but it's just not that he shouldn't really put up a fight. He did put up a fight. It's just that Canelo is generally leveled above Fielding. Fielding was, Fielding's biggest hopes and aims and ambition was probably, fighting in a 5,000-10,000 stadium, maybe packed out, maybe on an undercard or something. But he was actually the main event against a pound-for-pound great. You get what I'm saying? So there's levels to this, and people should just see that, he had something Canelo wanted. There were other champions out there, but Canelo targeted Fielding purely based on the fact that I feel that it was easier for him to kind of feel himself out at that weight, and then for him to kind of have leverage to then unify and look to unify the division, if that makes sense. But no, well done to Fielding. Like, he did what he could. I wouldn't say he put on a great show. Exactly. All you can do is try.
Exactly.
100%.
He went to the gym. He came to the weigh-in. He turned up for the press conference. And I'm mocking here, but he tried.
He did a bit of shopping and then got out of there.
Exactly.
No, of course, man. But props to Eddie Hearn as well for making him that fight and making him a lucrative payday, because that's what ultimately a promoter's job is to do.
Very true.
But no, literally hats off to him. But there's not really much we can really talk about, because it was 3 rounds.
Exactly.
I reckon Canelo could have taken him out in the second or the first, but he kind of wanted to get the fans' money's worth and keep it in there. So,
good.
To be honest, I don't really. It was decent to watch. I'm happy for Fielding anyway that he got his payday and everything. But onwards and upwards for Canelo.
And the
I'm
big
not
one?
too sure about him being at the weight. The big one, oh my God, Whyte and Chisora.
Exactly.
I cannot wait. Do you know what? The marketing and the build-up has been unbelievable from Sky Sports and Matchroom. Hats off to them. The way they've been really like getting people enticed. So much so the casual boxing fan, because Chisora was such an oldie, people were talking about, oh yeah, that guy's fighting again. But Dillian, especially if Dillian's coming on the spot, and for most casual boxing fans, he's known as, you know, the guy who got knocked out by Joshua and you know, was told to shut up by Stormzy. That's generally people's opinions of Dillian, which is quite, well, you can't really blame him for the average fan. But I'm looking forward to it. I feel the way Dillian is looking, the way he's training, I feel that he should knock him out. I want him to be honest, I want him to knock him out purely because I felt he'd done everything the hard way, you know, went from being, you know, zero to almost hero along the way of all his fights since losing to Joshua. And like you said earlier, like I've been listening to your show, he's also a prime example of someone who can be a top star, who can get to that near enough elite level with an L on the record. Like, it's not just because Floyd Mayweather's been there and just had that undefeated record doesn't mean that you can't show yourself up to be, you know, you can't. You get knockdowns in life, you've got to be able to come back. You know, this boxing, you're a professional. You're not going to be a perfect professional. Like in our careers, I'm sure we've made a lot of mistakes, but the mistakes don't define you and the losses don't define you. But in boxing, it's just so different. Like now that perfect record means everything because of Floyd Mayweather, and props to him. But I do think Dillian Whyte should knock him out. And like you said, what's my man's name, Kojo?
Tom,
yeah.
Tom, like Tom said, I know we've met a few times before, but as you said, Tom, if it's a boxing match, Whyte box Chisora all day. But if it turns into a brawl, I feel that Whyte will get caught up into the hype and the scrap of it all, and you know, Derek will come to fight. He will turn to fight. He's been training him to train as if this is going to be his last fight. So Derek's really going to want to put on the show, and he's got that chip on his shoulder because apparently he should have won. To be honest, I think the best score would have been a draw 2 years back. I thought a draw would have been better, but it all depends on judges' interpretation. But if it went to Whyte, I didn't feel that it was an absolute robbery of Chisora, or if it went to Chisora, I wouldn't have felt that it's an absolute robbery to Whyte. It was one of those fights that it just depends how you're interpreting it, because Derek's style is always on the ropes and likes to sit on the ropes and then get his breath back and then attack and then go back on the ropes. That's just Derek's style. But he's looking really good as well. He's looking very, very good under Hay, and Hay's getting him into shape. But when I was at This Is Boxing, and a boxer, I spoke to a professional, and I said, you know what, Chisora's looking in really good shape. But the professional guy turned around and said to me, well, that body didn't help Hay against Bellew, so how's it going to help Chisora against Dillian? The bodies don't mean anything, which is true. Which I do agree. I do agree with that. Also, in regards to your point earlier about the double clash, who was it? Who put the date first? Was it Sneaky from Matchroom side, or was it Warren?
Yeah, Warren.
Sneaky from.
It was announced before Warren, because if you remember, he announced that back in August with the whole Wilder Fury. So when did Fury fight? Is that in July then?
Yeah.
July or August?
No,
when he fought in Belfast.
Fought in Belfast in August, and I think Warren had it signed in September for that December date.
Yeah. But they had announced, the contract signed, but it was August. It was announced, yeah.
But we all know what Hearn's ploy is to kind of combat the shows. I mean, another thing that I wanted to ask you, Sam, was we were talking about it prior to sort of getting into the fights themselves, Warrington, Frampton, and Whyte and Chisora. I just wanted to ask, do you think the DAZN deal, that the fact that they didn't put the Dillian Whyte Chisora fight on DAZN, that was possibly an excuse for them to say, do you know, if we have this fight on Showtime, Warren has his fight on BT Sport, that they can't really blame Hearn for trying to make a clash with the shows. If he had the fight on DAZN, there would have been more animosity towards Hearn. Do you think the fact that he's kind of stepped back, only using the British broadcaster, kind of reduced the amount of stick he's going to get for the date?
What, Eddie or Warren?
Hearn. Yeah.
Boys. So I feel. So your question is basically asking: is Hearn going to get more stick, or he's going to get less stick for doing that because it's his own deal?
Yeah, less stick.
Okay. Eddie Hearn, he's always going to get stick regardless because of his persona and the way he behaves and how he's very smart at feeding into the media. Like myself and Kodjo have spoken about time in, time out. But I do feel that the way he's kind of making himself out is that he's always 10 steps ahead of the game, and Warren's just catching on because he's that old school boxing promoter. So it's kind of like you kind of have to ask Warren or his team, what are they doing to really stay current and stay within times? You know, it's not necessarily much about Eddie anymore or about Warren and that kind of rivalry there. It's just a question of, why are you being stuck in your ways?
Yeah.
Why don't you try new things? Why aren't you looking at other avenues? Because one thing about Eddie Hearn is that he's a risk taker, he's creative in what he does, and you can't fault him for that. And he's bringing more and more fans to the sport of boxing, which ultimately means more fans, more money for fighters, more money for, you know, it's all round in general, more grassroots levels. You know, it's really good. But I just feel that Warren needs to kind of come out of that whole standard pay-per-view model and really utilise the kind of social media and the platforms that there. You can argue and say he does because of social media and things, but I don't really feel it's as savvy. If you look at what show would you rather watch, Tom? I'm going to ask you. Would you rather watch a Matchroom show or would you rather watch a Box Nation show?
I think based on this weekend, I'd have to pick Box Nation. If you look at the Warrington Frampton card, you see the fight between Mark Heffron and Liam Williams. You got multiple 50-50 fights. Conlon Cunningham. I mean, you look at. I understand the model that Sky Sports and Matchroom are trying to employ. They have the massive main event fights that they're able to generate that hype and exposure for a fight between two people that generally don't like each other. That adds to the animosity between the two camps. It adds to the fire.
Of course.
So I think,
especially with all the content being out there previously as well.
Yeah, 100%. And I think when you got a fight between, I mean, in terms of a business, you look at it and think, well, Warrington and Frampton, there's no bitterness between the two. There's the utmost respect. And then when you have Whyte and Chisora who don't like each other, naturally you're going to generate a lot more hype from a fight where the two fighters don't get on.
100%.
And it's heavyweight as well.
100%.
I mean, I was just going to say, just so to cut in. So I think definitely, I don't think Hearn. I think amongst the boxing fans, I think this is the thing. I would say, if you look at, you touched on something when you started, Sam, you said the marketing. For me, and I wanted to say, the marketing for this fight has been on top. I mean, you go on the Instagram, it's all about war. They're talking about T-shirts, war, the commercial with the little choir boy singing, and even that caught me because I thought it was linked to a horror movie, and I'm looking at the screen and I'm like, oh shit, that's fucking...
It's like Christmas songs or something.
Yeah,
going on.
Honestly, so for me, they've really thought about it. You look at the visuals, you know, the intensity of the visuals as well. That tells you that these guys are planning to bring a fight. Whether they do or not, we'll find out Saturday. Whereas with Frampton Warrington, it's been nice, but it's been okay. It's been mediocre. You know, they're announcing the press conferences, the media workouts, but not being fun. It's in Manchester. It's not in London. So you can do that all you want. And it's not like, it's not as restrictive in London. That information isn't always publicised because actually they like to keep it a bit more sort of under the wraps with things like presses. So, yeah, I mean, for me, I think the real losers, unfortunately, are us as fans because at the end of the day, it's two quality
100%.
fights taking place and we're going to have to flash between it. And even the undercards of both. Actually, you know, Tom was saying the undercard on the Frank Warren was good. And I thought that was better. But actually, there's not of... Like, if you look at Edwards is on the Matchroom one, which is not... I think he's fighting for a belt.
Yeah.
Quinlan versus Buatsi, that's not a bad fight for Buatsi.
So there isn't really a lot of difference.
I was going to say Quinlan Buatsi. If Buatsi does the job on Quinlan, and when I mean knocks him out in emphatic fashion, that really just sends a message. I think that sends a message. And then Ryan Walsh versus
Belotti, great fight,
potentially a really good fight.
Exactly.
So it's like Hearn
Belotti needs to come back.
Yeah, exactly. And Hearn's come from nowhere. And even our guy, the guy you've interviewed, Udofia's on the undercard.
Yeah, he's been added. So, it seems to... I think with Hearn as well, he's able to, even though if the fights that he puts on aren't up to scratch, I think the last, say, 10 days of before fight, he's able to then add things that just make you think, how has he pulled that out of the bag and add to the fluidity of the card? And
So
it's crazy to think, because with the Warren card,
because of the budget.
yeah, exactly. With the 100%, the budget's probably the most important aspect
What
of
I
it.
mean, say for people, he's able to pick up the phone to a number of coaches and trainers who he knows how much they're not going to get a bigger payday than with him. So he can say, look, it's 50 grand if you guys can fight on the show. Can we make it happen?
Yeah.
And all these boxers are going to jump at it. Even the journeyman will say, look, I'm getting 10 grand. I normally get about a couple of grand per show that I do right there but these are journeymen I'm talking about.
Yeah.
When they see it that way, they're just going to jump at it. Being a stay, they've got so many opportunities. They're just a monopoly. Yeah. That's what it is. They're just a strong monopoly. But yeah, ultimately the boxing fans do miss out. What did you say?
No, I was going to say they're doing well. So I was going to say, Sam, we're going to move on to the next topic. But listen, thank you very much for calling in. Appreciate the support. And have a great festive season. We're going to be out. This will be the last show of 2018, but we'll be back in middle of January in 2019. So have a great Christmas, New Year, and all that jazz. Lots of champagne, cognac. All the best.
You too, guys.
Nice
take
one,
care.
Sam.
Represent TV to the world.
Nice one. So
care.
great points.
Bye.
Take care.
Cheers, take care. Great points. Cheers, thanks. Bye. Yeah, so quickly move on to... let's quickly talk about Buatsi Quinlan, because we haven't touched on that. I think on both cards, I'm going to say, for me, Buatsi Quinlan is a good fight, and I think David Price versus Tim Little might not be bad, as well as Murray versus Ndam.
Yeah.
But for me, Buatsi Quinlan, I think that's a big statement, as Sam just said. If he can stop Quinlan...
Massive statement.
I think he's really going to not make waves, because the light heavyweight is stacked with opposition, but I think people are going to stand up and take a bit of notice of him, because he's, 10 fights in, if that... And that's a big task, given that Eubank took the belt off him. Was it one of the WBL belts?
IBO,
yeah, even worse. Yeah. So, but my point is, that was a tough fight for Eubank, and I know it's a different weights, but yeah, I'm interested to see how Buatsi fares against that. David Price, Tom Little, what's your thoughts on that one?
Yeah, just first, I really like the fact that you've brought up the Eubank situation. Yeah. You look at a high-profile person like Eubank with the name with his old man, and then you look at a rising Olympian like Buatsi, who's had all the spotlight on him since he turned pro, and you think, well, they're going to try and compare the performances. They're going to be like, if Buatsi isn't able to get him out of there early, is that going to be criticism towards him? They're going to see how he's able to how it's going to compare to the fact that the distance of the fight, Quinlan took Eubank quite a few rounds before he was able to make a statement or make an effect on the fight. And I think as well, Buatsi in his last few fights, he's looked so destructive. He's able to pick his shots perfectly. And I think he's going to get an early stoppage. I think Quinlan hasn't since the Eubank fight, he hasn't fought of anyone of
he's
note.
Stepping up as well, but still.
Yeah, so I think, I hope Buatsi gets him out of there early, puts a show on. But then again, the rounds will probably be beneficial to him, especially when you're looking at the likes of Callum Johnson for a British title, and you're stepping up to world level then in the next 12 to 18 months.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So in terms of the undercard you touched on there, Tom Little, David Price, we've obviously seen David Price in some fights where you think he's got all the talent in the world, but is it stage fright? Is he the spotlight? Do you think this is going to be the same? Do you think...
No, I would imagine he will beat Tom Little, because, Tom Little is not a bad boxer, but if I look back, I want to say Tom Little maybe even lost to Akinlade going years back. So Tom Little isn't somebody that Price should be afraid of. It probably makes good, but I would say the average watcher on the night isn't going to know who Tom Little is. Yeah. But they'll probably know David Price. So I would say I can't see any issues for him. Murray versus Ndam, I think that's a quite
quality fight.
I think that's a tough, challenging fight. Surprising they've put that on, but it makes sense to add to the bill. You think Murray's going to get the decision here?
I don't know. It's a tough one, Coach. I think I hope he does, because I think the way the whole Saunders situation unfolded, he's had a bit of bad luck in the last year or so. But when you're stepping up against, I think Ndam's former European champion, if I'm correct.
And, well, he was I want to say he was a world champion, wasn't he?
He might well have been. I'm not too
sure. Lemieux knocked out Ndam.
Possibly.
Yeah,
possibly.
I want to say he's a former champion, but yeah.
But yeah, no. Anyway, but besides that, I think Murray He's at that stage of his career where he's only got 1 or 2 fights left, and if he loses to Nadam, that's probably going to be it for him. So whether he's able to pull it out of the bag, one last performance, I hope so, but I'm not 100% convinced.
I mean, I do think I agree with you. I think if win or lose, depending on how, I still think there's still that space for the Billy Joe Saunders fight next year. Because Billy's gonna have to find out how he kind of plans his route back to the titles. And a domestic dust-up like that gives him a lot of money, and it probably boosts his fan base. So that's interesting. Moving on to the US card. Obviously, Monroe was due to fight one of the Charlo brothers. He's been pulled out. What's your thoughts on both the Charlos headlining their first fight, Lions only, over in the States? I mean, obviously, with Tony Harrison, is not too many people know about him. But, I mean, the two of them, do you expect them to have a really good 2019 and kick on?
I think for all the talk they do and all the hype behind the two brothers equally, I think you look at them and you think they're quite brash, charismatic. Whether there's a bit of doubt that their talking does more than what they do in the ring, we kind of associate the Charlo brothers with that knockout power. I think once they step up in meaningful fights, you look at Charlo, the older Charlo at the middleweight division. Think, has he entered it at the wrong time perhaps, or has he actually entered it at a time where these fights with Andrade Jacobs are perfect to make at this stage, and then he gets the paydays, he gets the opportunity to fight for a world title. I think for the younger brother Jamel, WBC champion, I think the Hurd fight's a tough fight for him. I do think Hurd's got all the tools to negate Charlo. He's another inside fighter. Hurd is very
Harrison. It's Tony Harrison.
Oh, sorry, Tony Harrison.
Yeah.
But not even touching on the wider division and unifications. I think Charlo, the 154-pounder, he hasn't really proven himself yet.
He needs to.
Whereas the older has. He's now in a case where he's done what he has to do at 154. He's moved up to 160, and they're already talking about a Golovkin fight. So whether he's proven himself and being given himself the opportunity to fight for that, he must be doing something right.
He's definitely. I agree with you. I think for me, Charlo versus Harrison, I see him winning. The guy who's been called in to replace Monroe, I mean, personally, I don't really rate Monroe Jr. that much. This Korobov, a lot of rumours that he stopped Triple G in amateurs.
He fight Andy Lee as well.
He lost to Andy Lee as well, but he was winning that fight. So, definitely going to make for an interesting weekend. A very, very busy weekend. And, looking forward to everything. So, before we wrap up the last show of 2018, I was going to quickly ask, what would be your highlight of 2018, Tom?
2018, I would have to say just Fury getting back into the ring.
Fair play.
I think all the advocacy for mental health was top notch. The way they promoted the fight. In terms of, I have two kind of highlight moments. The small hall scene, Jeffrey Overy winning the Southern area. I thought that was a great fight down in Tottenham. That was probably my favourite show of the year. And then on the bigger stage, it's a tough one, Coach. I think. Not too sure. Kind of lost for words.
Struggling
for words here, so I don't really. Yeah,
you done one on the small hall. All right, for me, what would be my highlight of 2018? If I'm going to be honest, and I can't really say anything else. I just have to be honest. Sorry. For me, I really think it's Wilder Ortiz. As fight, it wasn't the standout fight of the year, but I think it was probably the first fight of the heavyweight division that really got everything going. I'm going to try and find the show where I'd said 2018 will be the year of the heavyweights, and I think I was proven right in that because you look at how we're finishing the year. But I just felt the Wilder Ortiz going into it, I knew what Wilder was capable of. A lot of people just thought Ortiz was going to go in there, and he kind of did what people thought. He was going to make him look bad, showed his poor technique, and Ortiz would have the better technique, but I think it was the equalizer. And I think anytime I still watch that fight and see the finish, I was like, wow. Looking forward to sort of what 2019 has to bring. Guys, as per usual, sorry, this year's been a bit up and down in terms of the show and consistency, but the plan is we will be more consistent next year. We will be giving you more visual content, and it's going to be the year where Raps on TV, Tom, as you like to say.
Yeah. at Raps on TV on Instagram.
Yep, exactly.
Raps on TV Boxing News on Facebook. Make sure you follow, subscribe, like, share. We appreciate all the support. Shout out to all the other boxing channels out there doing their thing. You've got to support the movement.
Even though they don't support us, but
but it's all good. When
exactly.
we know that next year's going to be a big year, fingers crossed. And just want to wish all the viewers. There is a lot of people that tune in every week, and we definitely know the people that have supported from day dot. So I just want to wish you all a happy Christmas. But there's just one thing I wanted to touch on, Coach. 2019.
Yes.
If there's one fight you could choose, one fight you'd like to be seen made, what would that be?
For me, I mean, realistically, I think it's only Wilder versus Joshua. But I'll give you two, and I think I would have to say Garcia versus Lomachenko.
Yeah.
What about you?
I have to agree. I think one fight that I'm definitely looking forward to would have to be Charlo. Unification. And I think as well, Bivol Beterbiev would be a great fight for the light heavyweight.
That's what I mean. There's a lot of fights, a lot of matchups to get. And if Buatsi has a great performance on Saturday, I think he's going to be bringing his name in. But guys, listen, we're going to make a move. So appreciate all the support as usual. Have a great Christmas. Have a great New Year's.
Shout out to Kenny as well. Shout out to
Big up man like
the audio.
Kenny. He's got a 3 a.m. fight. He's a busy man.
he's in training camp. He's ready, in tip-top shape.
All right, cheers, guys.
Thanks very much. Take care.
Let's